In this book, the story is told from the perspective of the unnamed narrator who had left behind a journal. It details his time living about 4,400 feet underground. The beginning of the journal starts on March 21st, while at a push-button camp. As the name suggests, he is being trained as a button pusher for launching missiles and other weapons. Upon graduation, the narrator was promoted to a major and given his first assignment at an undisclosed underground base. At the base, groups are quickly being loaded into the lifts and sent downward to their assigned level. After a brief orientation, the narrator was sent to a section called Push Button X, or PBX for short. This area acted as their workstation and living area. The button station was situated in the center, while the two rooms, each with 2 occupants, were at opposite ends of the PBX. These PB officers were given code names, and they were X107, X117, X127, the narrator, and X137. From what I understand, the X refers to the push-button officers, the 12 is for being the 12th PB officer there, and the 7 is what level the narrator is on. The stated purpose of the journal was for it to act as an anchor that held his sanity together while he conducted monotonous tasks each day. This task is overlooking a convex screen with a map consisting of 3 zones labeled A, B, and C. Near the screen are buttons that range from 1 to 4 for each of the corresponding zones. Button 1 are basic rockets that explode on contact. Button 2 are bombs that explode mid-air. And Button 3 sends out missiles that penetrates the ground before exploding. Button 4 will be explained later. So, to use an example, under pressing of C1 will send out basic rockets to Zone C. And to keep the operators fresh, the shifts are divided into 6 hours between the 4 of them per day. By the 26th of March, the people of Level 7 are finally able to mingle with others from their level. This, however, is only for half an hour each day. When X127 went to the designated lounge, he had seen the other sections that include nurses, electrical engineers, and psychologists. He ended up speaking to a woman named P867, and due to her profession, she asked a lot of invasive questions. One realization came when X127 was speaking to P867, who confirmed that in her area, it was 50 women to 1 restroom, while the PBX is 2 per restroom. To put it bluntly, she hasn't been able to shower for about 2 days because of the limited window of availability. As the month of April continues, a loudspeaker on Level 7 starts a series called Know Thy Level, and it explains the 3 purposes for the communication system. The functional system, which is the loudspeaker, the general system, which offers information, and the private system, which is the room communications. The series continues and goes over various subjects, usually those that people inside had apparently spoken about out loud. April continues on, and marriages are being announced in Level 7. This appeared to be a way to boost the morale of Level 7, and to signify that a person is married. The letter M is added to the end of their code name. About a week into May, X127 marries P867 after she had been playing cat and mouse with him. Around this time, X127 had been having strange dreams of a world-ending event, and this had been slowly etching away at his psyche. By mid-May, the loudspeaker started giving brief information about Level 6, and that it had a higher population, but wasn't as important as Level 7. On top of that, the people on Level 6 are allowed to take 2 weeks above ground and then 2 weeks underground on a rotation type of schedule. As the month continues, more information of the upper levels are given. It is told that the levels from 5 to 3 are mainly elite civilians and their families. Most of the underground facilities scattered about the states will only go as deep as 5 levels, while the ones that go deeper are the more important ones. Levels 1 and 2 are spoken about on the speaker, and it mentions them usually being less than 100 feet deep. As the month of May comes to an end, X127 starts to isolate himself, even from his wife, as he is feeling the need of going back to the surface world. The month of June opens up with X-127 in the psych department for treatment, and he apparently felt better after being given drugs and shock therapy. Some days later, X-127 and X-117 were on duty at their station, and a private speaker came on and directed them on when to press a certain button. It started off with the A buttons, then the B buttons, and continued through the C button. The only ones left out was option 4 for each of them, and when told to press them, X-117 refused. After being removed by a medical team, the other off-duty button pushers came out to ensure the buttons were pressed. This war had only lasted for about 2 hours, and that, as mentioned by the loudspeaker, had badly damaged the world above. The surface was in a riot, and the initial rocket attack was said to have been an accident, as proclaimed by the enemy. Sometime later, the people of the PBX sections were now jobless, and the station was quickly converted into a sort of museum for people of level 7 to visit it. By mid-June, reports over the radio mentions that neutral countries have been affected by the weapons and radiation was seeping into their territories. About a week later, more reports came out about their people falling sick and eventually dying. Furthermore, even the people in bunkers with the upper levels are starting to feel sick. Theories go around the various levels on how far that radiation will seep into the ground. A married couple from level 3 have decided to venture out to the surface and will use the transmitter to report what they see as they travel around. As the couple travel, they gave updates on their health and whatever they deemed important for people to hear. Near the end of June, the married couple begin to feel more fatigued than normal, and the reports are mainly stagnant as it's the same thing: destruction and no other humans. Days later, the couple became more delusional and even mentioned Noah's Ark, and them being the doves that did not return. Anyways, by July, X-127 is feeling responsible for the state of the world above, as he was one of those few men that pressed those buttons. This is where a time skip of a few months go by, and those missing pages is explained that his wife had ripped them out in an argument. A divorce came soon after, and she went on to marry his roommate, X-107. It would seem that X-127 came to terms with his participation in the ending of the world above, where he may be feeling more dissociated. As the month continues, people on levels 5 through 3 are reporting radiation sickness. Some believe that it was their water that became tainted. Shortly after, more reports came from level 5 about there being a riot with the leaders being targeted. As September comes to an end, the broadcasts are becoming less frequent and stopped completely. Eventually, the enemy had contacted level 7 and proposed a peace treaty since there was no more contact with the surface world. Level 6 has also stopped responding to level 7, and it was assumed that they too had succumbed to the radiation. October comes, and the ex-enemies are no longer responding to their broadcast, and this gives them the true feeling of being alone. A few days into this month, someone had apparently died from radiation sickness after working on the reactor. Rather quickly, more and more people fell sick, and X-127 noticed them missing from the lunchroom. This atomic reactor was supposed to keep the people of level 7 alive, but it being damaged is now only killing them. Corpses are starting to stack up, and there are less people strong enough to drag them away. By October 11th, X-127 noticed that he was the only one that showed up to the cafeteria, and he knew that weakness will soon prevent him from returning. By the next day, he was too weak to get out of bed, and he felt that he was the last man alive. With whatever remained of his strength, his finger tapped the radio to listen to.